Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Health Ministry apologizes for delay in rollout of digital vaccination cards. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has apologized for the delay in the rollout of country's digital vaccination cards. The announcement was made via a brief media statement. A scheduled media briefing to discuss the digital cards has also been postponed. The card should have been fully rolled out starting today. The ministry says it's working to resolve the technical difficulties associated with the public's access to the digital cards. The cards, which can be downloaded to a mobile device or physical printed, will replace the paper-based cards which are previously issued at vaccination sites across the country. People will be able to access the digital cards by following the following steps.
Here's how to get your digital vaccination card. Step 1. Visit vaccert.moh.gov.jm. Step 2. Enter your mobile number to receive your one-time password or OTP. Step 3. Check your mobile for the OTP and enter it in the space provided. Step 4. Check if the information on your certificate is correct. If the information is correct, you can then click to download the certificate to your mobile device or print a physical copy.
Harmony Beach Park to be fitted with CCTV cameras connected to Jamaica Eye. Harmony Beach Park in Montego Bay, St. James will become the first public park to be outfitted with closed-circuit television CCTV cameras that will be placed on the country's national surveillance program, Jamaica Eye. That's according to the Western Regional Manager at the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, Omar Simpson. He says from a security perspective, they intend to ensure that this becomes the first park that has been integrated closed-circuit cameras throughout the park, and that will be integrated through the government's Jamaica Eye program. He says this is to ensure that the park can be monitored everywhere from the police and from their own on-site security station. He was speaking with journalists at the annual St. James Municipal Corporation Christmas tree lighting ceremony held at the park recently. Jamaica Eye is part of our overall thrust by the Ministry of National Security to transform security architecture through investment in improving the technology, intelligence, infrastructure, and mobility of the JCF over the next few years. Several parish courts exceed criminal case clearance target for 2021 Chief Justice. Chief Justice is reporting that a majority of parish courts across the island have exceeded their criminal case clearance target for this year. The Chief Justice says all but one of the courts have met the international benchmark for case clear-up and backlog reduction. The Chief Justice noted that the reduction bound well for efficiency and the delivery of a high standard of justice.
The Jamaican justice system has long been hampered by significant case backlogs and delays. But at least one level of the system, the Chief Justice says significant progress has been made. He says the parish courts are ahead of target.
The projected clearance rate needed for year 3, which is this year, was 95.24% on the criminal side, and the clearance rate on the criminal side as of September 30 this year was 101.37. So what that means is that the court is ahead of projection for the clearance rate for the year 3 of our strategic plan, which began in earnest in the year 2019, completed 2020, and ran out in 2021.
The Chief Justice says the majority of the parish courts across Jamaica have met the international best practice for case clear-up and disposal. He says this achievement is particularly impressive considering the ongoing pandemic.
It is important to note that 12 of the 13 parish courts achieved international standards of between 90 to 100%. So a lot of work is being done in those courts. And what makes that particularly impressive is that this is coming out now of the pandemic. And we are still in the pandemic, though some of us sometimes we have forgotten that. But you remember that there was a reduction in legal services for 2 quarters of last year. And so what that means is that the output, the productivity of the courts has increased significantly, and a significant recovery from where we were in September last year.
Justice Sykes has singled out the Manchester Parish Court for special commendation. He says it has been particularly effective in clearing criminal cases. He says this is a good sign for backlog reduction in the parish.
And so the overall clearance rate for the courts, all 13 parish courts, is 98.81%. And our statistician tells us that the Manchester court in particular is forecast to have a clearance rate by December 31 of 131.52%. And what that means is that on the criminal side, the court will be clearing 131 cases for every 100 coming in, which means that the backlog is being reduced, because when you have 100 coming in, 100 going out, and you have an extra 31, the extra 31 has to come from somewhere, and that is the backlog, and that is how it is being reduced.
Hart declines to name facilitator or strategic coach engaged for $5 million two-day retreat. Jamaica's premier skills training agency, Hart NSTA Thrust, says it will not disclose the names of the persons or entities it engages to provide the services or facilitator and strategic coach at its controversial multi-million-dollar retreat in October this year. In Parliament on Tuesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness revealed that the Hart spent $5.6 million on the retreat for board directors and other senior executives at the agency. Mr. Holness also disclosed that a facilitator and a strategic coach were engaged for the three-day retreat to the tune of just over $1.4 million. According to Hart, the services were engaged under a confidentiality agreement.
There will be any further comments based on the statement that the Prime Minister would have delivered in Parliament on the basis that we would have engaged them through a confidential agreement. The organization will not disclose those names at this time. That is our position, and we're standing by it.
So the persons who we paid over $1 million to, taxpayers will not know who these people are because Hart Trust is saying we're not telling you. That is what you're doing.
I'm aware of that, and I'm saying at this time, that is the position that we're maintaining.
That's the response from Director of Marketing and Communication at Hart Trust, Julia Smiley Green. This after Nationwide News asked who were the persons or entities engaged as facilitator and strategic coach for the controversial $5.6 million retreat for board members and senior executives of the agency. Hart Trust came under fire after several questions were raised about the retreat's cost to taxpayers. Opposition spokesperson on finance, Julian Robinson, tabled questions about the retreat early last month, which were answered by Prime Minister Andrew Holness during Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives.
Accommodation, including meals and technology support, was $4,019,962.63, or converted to US dollars, approximately $26,100. The meeting, Madam Speaker, also engaged the services of a facilitator, and that service cost $800,000. They also engaged the service of a strategic coach, and that cost $664,290.
In response to the Prime Minister, Mr. Robinson said the expenditure during the prevailing pandemic could not be justified, especially because Hart Trust owns a hotel.
Madam Speaker, I find this expenditure excessive in this environment. In a COVID environment where there is significant suffering, where people have had to bang them belly, where Hart's own contributions would have gone down because employers would have cut back, I find it excessive. Hart had options. Hart owns the Runaway Bay Academy, where they train tourism workers. So if you decided you wanted to have an off-site retreat, you could have gone there. That's a facility. I have been there. I sat on the Hart board. It's a great facility. It could have been used.
When our news center asked Mrs. Smiley Green why Hart did not host the planning retreat at the hotel it owned, this was her response.
That's not something I can respond to without consulting, since I wasn't the one coordinating. That is something I would have to get some feedback on.
Were the facilitator and strategic coach selected by a competitive process?
That I would have to consult on as well.
Multiple criminal charges laid against businessman John Levy and his wife. Investigators from the Fraud Squad Division of the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Branch of the JCFC TOC this afternoon laid several criminal charges on corporate area businessman John Levy. Mr. Levy and his wife Donna were arrested and charged this afternoon. John Levy has been charged with forgery, fraud as a director, conspiracy to defraud, and creating public mischief. The commanding officer for CTOC outlined the charges laid on the husband and wife duo.
Well, Donna and her husband, John Levy, were charged this afternoon. There were a couple of charges. Mr. Levy was charged for forgery, was charged for fraud as a director, conspiracy to defraud, simple larceny, and creating public mischief, while his wife was charged for conspiracy to defraud and receiving stolen property.
Meanwhile, the attorney for the Levys, Christopher Towson, says his clients deny the allegations.
They were charged, the husband and wife, in relation to a very old motor truck that the multi-million-dollar company is saying that was stolen from them. We, of course, maintain that that is not so at all, and it is an ongoing assault on the family. That is the Levy family.
KSAMC threatens legal action in response to developers who breach city building approvals. Mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, Senator Delroy Williams, is warning that the municipal corporation will be taking legal action against developers who are found in breach of city building approvals. The mayor made the revelation while addressing reports of multiple breaches of building ordinance across the corporate area. This has led to fears regarding the structural soundness of several construction projects in the capital city. Mayor Williams says the municipality will be taking the necessary corrective action as prescribed under law.
We have been saying to developers, build according to the building approval. And if you don't do so, we will take enforcement measures to include court action, and which is something that we have been doing. And we will now also make that information public as we are allowed under law. But yes, the KSAMC will be taking enforcement measures to include court action against developers and who are building contrary to the building approval. There ought to be no work on Sundays and public holidays, and that we will be doing our checks with the police, both our municipal police and building officers and police, and inviting the police, doing our checks to ensure that developers are not, and contractors are not doing construction work on Sundays and the public holidays and outside of the times allotted for construction work to take place.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.